My name is Evelyn Turner. I'm 34 years old, and I design homes for people who already have everything. Mansions in Bel Air. Penthouses in Tribeca. Places where the curtains cost more than most people's cars. It's funny, really, how much I pride myself on creating perfection for others. Because, for 10 years, I thought I'd built my own version of it. I live, or used to live, in a gleaming glass and marble home on the coast, where the ocean's lullaby slips through every window. My husband, Daniel, is, or was, a pediatric surgeon. The kind with soft hands, warm smiles, and a voice that could calm screaming toddlers in seconds. He always said he fell in love with the way I arranged flowers in my college dorm window. We married young, grew up together, built a life from scratch. Or so I thought. Until the package came. It was a Friday morning. June 3rd. Sunny, breezy, and quiet. Exactly how I liked it. Daniel had just left for work, kissing my forehead before he backed out of the driveway like he always did. I was still in my robe, sipping the hazelnut coffee he made for me every morning, when I saw the plain brown box sitting on the porch. No delivery van. No knock. Just there. I picked it up, confused by the weight of it. Light. Maybe clothes. But I hadn't ordered anything. The handwriting scrawled across the front was a chaotic mess, like someone had written it in a rush. To Evelyn Turner. No sender. No return address. A slow chill worked its way up my spine. I sat at the kitchen island, the blade of my letter opener trembling slightly as I slid it beneath the tape. The box opened with a soft sigh, like it was relieved to be free. Inside, wrapped in pink tissue paper, was a pale ivory envelope, thick and expensive, with a floral seal pressed into the wax. My hands felt numb as I opened it. Welcome to the world, Grace Monroe Carter. The announcement read in cursive gold letters. Born March 2nd, 6 pounds 11 ounces. Proud parents, Daniel Carter and Hannah Monroe. Daniel Carter. My husband. Our last name. His full name, next to hers. I didn't understand at first. My brain rejected it, tried to twist the words into a joke or a mistake or some other Daniel Carter entirely. But when I peeled back the tissue paper, reality slapped me across the face. There was a photo. A newborn swaddled in pink, wrinkled and sleepy, with dark hair and pale skin. Nothing unusual, until I looked closer. Her eyes, barely open in the photo, were a color I'd seen every day for a decade. Ice blue. Daniel's eyes. There was more beneath the photo. A birth certificate. A hospital bracelet. And then, the final knife to the gut, a handwritten note scrawled on the back of a diner receipt. He's ours now. If you are shocked by what you just heard, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Your thoughts matter. And if you want to stay in the loop for what's coming next, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss a moment of this. I dropped the box. It hit the floor with a soft thud, spilling its contents like an accusation. I staggered backward, my robe catching on the chair, nearly falling as my knees buckled beneath the weight of disbelief. 10 years. 10 whole years. I had defended Daniel through everything. When his schedule kept him out past midnight. When he started showering the second he got home. When he suddenly insisted on separate bank accounts, for tax reasons. I'd believed in his loyalty so blindly, so stupidly. Because what kind of man brings his wife coffee in bed and then goes off to father a child with another woman? Mine, apparently. The silence in the kitchen screamed at me. My phone sat on the marble counter, screen glowing with unread texts from Daniel. One of them said, "Love you. Have a great morning, babe." Sent an hour ago. I didn't respond. Instead, I took a long, shaking breath and slid to the floor beside the spilled package. I stared at the birth announcement again, tracing my fingers over the raised gold lettering. Grace Monroe Carter. A name that sounded like a fairy tale. And Hannah Monroe? I didn't know that name. Yet. My first instinct was to drive straight to Daniel's hospital and confront him in front of every nurse, every patient, every smug intern who thought he walked on water. But something stopped me. Pride. No. Fury. A deeper, colder thing than I'd ever felt. Something ancient. Patient. I would not scream. I would not beg. I would not give him the satisfaction of seeing me broken. Instead, I pulled myself together and made a call. Infidelity cases are my specialty. The voice on the other end of the line was smooth, calm, and razor-sharp. Like he'd done this 100 times and already knew how the story ended. "You come highly recommended," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Who gave you my number?" he asked. "Does it matter?" A pause. Then, "Fair enough. When can we meet?" I looked down at the photo again. At the baby with my husband's eyes. Something twisted in my chest. Not grief. Not yet. Just pure, clean rage. "Tonight," I said. "And bring whatever you need to find out how long he's been lying to me." There was a pause, then a soft click. "I'll see you at 7. I'm Cole Maddox, by the way." I didn't say goodbye. By the time Daniel got home that evening, I had packed a small overnight bag, put on my favorite black dress, the one he said made me look like I walked out of a Bond film, and set the empty box neatly on the kitchen counter. Everything inside it gone. Hidden. Waiting. "Hey babe," he called as he walked in, tossing his keys in the bowl by the door like always. "You look, wow. What's the occasion?" I smiled. Just felt like dressing up. He crossed the room to kiss me. I let him. Let him press his mouth to mine like he hadn't just shattered my entire life. He pulled back and blinked. "You okay?" "I'm fine," I lied. And I meant it. Because for the first time in 10 years, I wasn't just Evelyn the wife. Evelyn the decorator. Evelyn the woman who waited by the door. I was Evelyn Turner. The woman about to blow his perfect little world to pieces. At 6:59 p.m., I stepped into Cole Maddox's downtown office. He looked up and froze. "You didn't tell me your husband's name was Daniel Carter," he said, his voice suddenly cold. My heart stuttered. "Why?" "Because I know him," Cole said. "And I've been waiting for this day. Some people cheat with their bodies. My husband cheated with his soul, and Cole Maddox is about to help me bury him for it. Until yesterday, I thought I was living the kind of life people envied. A respected interior designer with a stunning portfolio and a husband who still sent me flowers just because. We were the picture of success. Polished, poised, perfect. Until I found out my husband fathered a child with a woman I'd never met. Now I'm sitting across from a man who claims to specialize in destroying men like him. Cole Maddox. His office smells like leather, rain, and old secrets. Everything about him radiates sharp control. Dark tailored suit, sleeves rolled to the elbows, a silver watch that catches the light when he types. His jaw is clenched. His eyes are ice. I'm not easily intimidated, but there's something about Cole that makes my pulse skip. He's not just focused, he's personal. "You didn't tell me your husband's name was Daniel Carter," he says again, his voice low and unreadable. "I didn't think it mattered." "It does," he replies. "Because I've been following him for months. Not professionally, yet. But I've seen enough to know that Daniel Carter is a liar, and now, his eyes meet mine. Now I have a reason to take him down." A chill slides over my skin. "What do you mean, you've been following him?" Cole leans back in his chair, steepling his fingers. "About 6 months ago, I got hired by someone else, someone who suspected her husband of cheating. Turns out, that husband was meeting up with a man named Daniel Carter at odd hours. Private meetings. Untraceable messages. A few money transfers that didn't make sense." I blink. "Wait, so he was cheating with Daniel?" "No," Cole says flatly. "Daniel was coaching him. Helping him hide things. Daniel isn't just a cheater, he's a mentor. He teaches other men how to double their lives. My stomach twists. Are you serious? I wish I wasn't. He turns to his laptop, types rapidly, then angles the screen toward me. There, in grainy surveillance footage, is my husband, laughing over drinks in a dim hotel lounge with two other men I don't recognize. There's something about his posture that I've never seen before. Confident. Smug. As if he owns the world. Cole points. That's a monthly meetup. 3 guys, 1 mission, don't get caught. I've tapped into one of their secure chats, but they use burner phones and rotate SIM cards every few weeks. Smart. But not smart enough. I stare at the screen, breathless. How long has this been going on? My guess. At least 2 years. Maybe longer. Do you know how many times Daniel's gone out of town this year? I nod slowly. 5. He taps again. He's logged 6 trips. And I have receipts showing one of those trips overlapped with a woman's OB/GYN appointment in Atlanta. Guess who the doctor listed as the emergency contact? I close my eyes, feeling the edges of my world crumble. Daniel. Bingo. Cole closes the laptop and leans forward, folding his arms on the desk. Tell me everything you know. Every detail, no matter how small. Then I'll tell you how we make him bleed. I talk for nearly an hour. About the late nights. The disappearing acts. The sudden obsession with keeping his phone on him, even in the shower. I mention Hannah Monroe, the woman from the birth announcement, and the way Daniel once joked about nurses being temptations with scrubs. Cole takes notes the entire time, his expression unreadable. Have you spoken to him since the package? No, I say. Not about that. He came home. I played normal. Smart. Let him keep thinking he's winning. I hesitate. Why are you doing this, Cole? I mean really. You said you've been watching him. What's your stake in this? His jaw flexes. He ruined someone I cared about. Gaslit her until she didn't know up from down. She almost ended her life because of what he did. I swallow hard. Was it personal? Cole looks away. She was my sister. The room goes silent. Suddenly, this isn't about an investigator helping a heartbroken wife. This is war. And Cole Maddox has been waiting for a reason to go nuclear. I'm sorry, I say quietly. He nods once, then stands. Let's get started. The next 3 days blur. Cole installs hidden software on my phone to trace Daniel's calls. He places a tracking device on Daniel's car, just in case he makes a late-night trip to see his second family. He combs through financial records I didn't even know existed. Offshore accounts. Quiet withdrawals. Life insurance policies I never signed. Every day, I learn something new about the man I married. And every day, I hate him a little more. But there's something else happening, too. Cole and I begin to fall into a rhythm. We meet at his office, or sometimes in my car parked discreetly near Daniel's other address. He teaches me how to read his body language, how to lie convincingly, how to keep calm even as my marriage disintegrates in real time. One night, after a particularly damning piece of footage, Daniel tucking a woman into a private townhouse with a stroller by the door, I break down in Cole's office. Silent tears. No sobbing. Just the ache of betrayal sitting on my chest like a cinder block. Cole doesn't say anything at first. Just watches me. Then, slowly, he reaches for my hand. I let him. The contact is electric. Comforting, yes, but also charged. His thumb brushes my palm. His warmth spreads up my arm like wildfire. You're not crazy, Evelyn, he says softly. He made you feel like you were, didn't he? I nod, choking back the lump in my throat. You're not. That night, I go home to Daniel like nothing happened. I let him kiss my cheek. I let him make me dinner. I let him show me the photos of some baby in the NICU, smiling like he wasn't hiding a secret nursery an hour away. But in my mind, I'm already building the trap. And Cole is the one showing me how to set it. 3 days later, Cole calls me at midnight. We found her, he says. Who? Hannah Monroe. She's a nurse at St. Luke's, working the night shift. We can intercept her tomorrow morning at 7:15 outside the parking garage. I exhale. Do you think she'll talk? Cole hesitates. She didn't send the photos. My heart skips. Then who did? I don't know, Cole says darkly. But whoever it is, they want you to burn Daniel to the ground. I expected to hate her. I wasn't prepared to pity her. I design perfect lives for imperfect people. At least, that's what I tell myself when I'm restoring a shattered kitchen for a woman who just found lipstick on her husband's collar. I used to think I was different from them. Better. Untouchable. But now I'm standing in the shadowed corner of a hospital parking garage, watching a young woman with trembling hands and tired eyes clutch her purse like it holds the last of her dignity. Her name is Hannah Monroe. She's 24. A night nurse at St. Luke's trauma ward. And according to the birth announcement sent to my home, she gave birth to my husband's daughter 3 months ago. Cole is next to me, leaning against my car, arms folded and face unreadable. He's dressed down today, jeans, black shirt, and a leather jacket that makes him look more like a rogue cop than a private investigator. He hasn't said a word in 5 minutes, and I know he's letting me lead this. This is your moment, he murmurs. Take it. I nod, take a breath, and step into the light. She spots me immediately. Stops walking. Clutches her bag tighter. Her mouth opens slightly. Confused, suspicious. Then recognition hits. I can see it in the way her eyes widen, how her entire frame stiffens. Evelyn Turner, she whispers. I give a slow, deliberate nod. We need to talk. She glances toward the hospital like she might run, but I hold up my hands. I'm not here to scream. I'm not here to fight you. I just need answers. Cole stays behind me, silent but present. I feel his protection like a force field. Hannah swallows hard, then finally says, I didn't send the package. I know, I reply. Her eyes dart between us. Then why are you here? I hesitate. Then softly, because you had his child, and I've been his wife for 10 years. Silence. Something cracks in her expression. Shame, maybe. Or disbelief. She shifts her weight from one foot to the other, like she doesn't know whether to flee or collapse. Look, she says, I didn't know about you. Not at first. He told me he was divorced. Of course he did, I say bitterly. She flinches. I wouldn't have. I'm not that kind of girl. That stings. Not that kind of girl. As if I am. As if I'm the fool here. But I keep my voice steady. When did you find out about me? Hannah looks down at her shoes. 4 months ago. Right after Grace was born. He was supposed to be there for the delivery. He didn't show. I called a dozen times. Nothing. Then a week later, he came over with flowers and told me his ex-wife had a breakdown and he had to help with the kids. Ex-wife. Breakdown. Kids we don't even have. My fists curl at my sides. I googled him, she says quietly. Found your wedding photos. The interior design firm. The happy little articles in Coastal Living. And you still stayed? Tears well up in her eyes. I was postpartum. Alone. Terrified. I didn't know what to do. He said he loved me. He said we were a family now. I exhale slowly. And you believed him. I wanted to. There it is, the truth. Not lust. Not greed. Just fear. Just hope. She didn't steal him from me. He was never mine to keep. He divides himself up like slices of cake, offering pieces to women who are starving for love. Why now? I ask. Why not come to me sooner? I didn't want to be the villain. You're not, I say, shocking even myself. He is. Cole finally steps forward. Do you have any photos of the package? The one with the birth announcement. Hannah frowns. No. I never saw it. Why? Because someone else sent it, I say. Someone who wants this whole thing to implode. She stiffens. Like who? I was hoping you'd tell me. But she shakes her head. I don't know anyone who'd do that. My mother doesn't even know who Grace's father is. Cole and I exchange a look. Hannah pulls her phone from her purse, hands trembling. But there is something. A few days ago, someone slid a note under my door. No envelope. Just this. She hands it over. The handwriting is jagged, desperate. He's lying to you. Check the apartment on Bedford and 14th. You're not the only one. I stare at it. Bedford and 14th is across town. And I've never heard of it before. Cole's mouth tightens. That's the address I found on his alternate credit card. Hannah blinks. Wait, there's another woman? My silence is the only answer she needs. An hour later, we're parked outside the apartment in question. It's a modest building. Brick. Gated. A place you wouldn't expect a man like Daniel to be associated with. Cole manages to clone the access code with a device he pulls from the glove box. Just one of the many alarming skills he casually possesses. Inside, the air smells like baby powder and laundry detergent. The apartment is fully furnished. Cozy. Soft lighting. Family photos on the walls. A rattle on the floor. Bottles on the counter. And a framed photo by the door. Daniel. Smiling. Holding a different baby. Not Grace. Jesus Christ, I whisper. This one's younger. Cole's face is stone. 6 weeks old. Max different woman. Different family. Hannah covers her mouth. Oh my God. We walk through the rooms in silence. Every drawer, every corner, another piece of the man I thought I loved, and none of it belonged to me. He has a full second life. And now I know. Maybe even a third. Cole's phone buzzes. He looks at the screen, and for the first time since I met him, I see fear. What? I ask. He turns the phone toward me. A photo. Me and Cole, together in the parking garage. The caption reads, "You're next." When a man lies once, you can call it weakness. When he builds a life on lies, that's war. I used to be a woman of grace. I curated beauty for a living, crafted symmetry, comfort, serenity. But all the throw pillows and polished marble in the world can't fix the rot underneath a perfect facade. And mine is collapsing. Tonight, I learned my husband, Daniel Carter, isn't just a cheater. He's a professional deceiver. A father to not one, but 2 secret children. A man who crafted entire alternate identities while kissing me goodnight like nothing was wrong. But something else happened tonight. Something even more disturbing than the second crib I saw in that other apartment. Someone is watching me. Someone knows what I'm doing. And they want me to stop. The photo on Cole's phone was taken from a distance, just grainy enough to make me question whether it was real, until I recognized the slope of my shoulders, the glint of my earrings, the subtle arch of Cole's jaw as he leaned in toward me. It was taken this morning, in the hospital parking garage. Before we confronted Hannah. Before she gave us that note. Before the final crack split my life in 2. The caption under it. Just 2 words. You're next. I stared at it, numb. Cole's face was unreadable, but I could tell he was coiled tight, like a wolf backed into a corner. Who sent this? I asked. He turned the phone toward himself again and zoomed in. Untraceable number. No metadata. Whoever sent it knows what they're doing. This wasn't a threat. It's a warning. From Daniel. Cole shook his head. No. He wouldn't be this subtle. And if he knew we were working together, he wouldn't just threaten you. He'd try to charm you back into his corner first. That's how narcissists operate. So who then? Cole didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the window of the apartment, stared down at the street below, and muttered, We need to move faster. That night, I went home and stared at the man I once thought I would grow old with. Daniel was in the kitchen, casually sipping red wine, his wedding band gleaming like a weapon under the lights. He looked up when I walked in, flashing that familiar boyish grin. "There she is," he said. "Where've you been? You missed dinner." "Meeting a client," I said smoothly, pulling off my coat and laying it over the back of a chair. "Emergency remodel. She's hosting a charity gala." "Of course," he said, chuckling. "Only you would have a crisis involving throw pillows." I laughed politely. Inside, my stomach turned. This man was a ghost. A shapeshifter. He poured me a glass of wine and leaned in to kiss me. I let him. Let him touch my lips with the same mouth he must have used to whisper lies into Hannah's ears. And the other woman's. And God knows how many more. When I pulled away, I asked casually, "Have you ever thought about us having kids?" His expression faltered for a split second, just long enough for me to catch it. "I mean," he said, recovering fast, "we talked about that, didn't we? You said you weren't ready." "No," I said softly. "I said I wasn't ready yet." "You said you wanted to wait too." He shrugged. "Life got busy." I sipped the wine. "You never brought it up again." He looked at me, unreadable. "Are you bringing it up now?" I met his eyes. Held them. "Maybe." A beat of silence. He moved closer, slipped a hand around my waist. "Then maybe it's time." I almost laughed. Instead I said, "Would you ever donate sperm?" He blinked. "What?" "Just wondering. Some of my clients are doing fertility treatments. Using donors." It made me think. If someone approached you, an old friend or patient or something, and asked. Daniel stepped back, the smile slipping. "Where's this coming from?" I tilted my head. "You seem nervous." He forced a laugh. "Of course not. I mean, I've never donated sperm. That'd be weird, right?" I nodded slowly. "Weird." He poured another glass. "I'm going to bed." And just like that, the conversation ended. But he didn't ask why I brought it up. He didn't ask if something was wrong. Because Daniel knew. He always knows. The next morning, I met Cole at his office. He was already on the phone, his tone clipped and furious. "No names. No leaks. If I find out you sold my client's case to a third party, you'll never work in this city again. You hear me?" He hung up and turned to me. "What happened?" I asked. "The photo wasn't just sent to me," he said. "Someone leaked it to a gossip site. It's already down, but not before it hit a few thousand views." My mouth went dry. What did it say? "Mystery man spotted with Daniel Carter's wife. They blurred your face. Not mine. Someone's trying to expose us." "No. Someone's trying to silence us. They're planting seeds, making it look like you're the one stepping out, not Daniel. If this goes public, the narrative flips. You become the villain. He becomes the wronged husband." I sank into the chair across from him, rage boiling beneath my skin. He's not just cheating, he's rewriting history. Cole handed me a folder. Inside were printouts, screenshots, emails, receipts. "Here's what I've got so far," he said. "Daniel has 3 properties under fake LLCs. 2 in this city. 1 out of state. All purchased in the last 5 years. One of them was bought a week before Hannah gave birth." I flipped through the pages, stunned. His financials are a mess. He's moved over $200,000 between accounts in the last 6 months. One of the payments went to a woman named Justine Vargas. I ran a facial recognition scan. He slid over a photo. It was the woman from the photo in the second apartment. Another mother. Another lie. I covered my mouth. How many? We're at 3 children. 3 women. And one common denominator. He tells each of them you're the ex. He spins a story about how you were cold, controlling, emotionally unstable. He even claimed you hit him. My blood froze. I never. I know, Cole said gently. It's a script. He's been perfecting it for years. I swallowed hard, a bitter taste rising in my throat. So what do we do now? Cole looked at me, really looked at me, and said, we destroy the script. That night, Daniel found my burner phone. He held it up, eyes narrow. What's this? I smiled, took it from his hand, and said sweetly, emergency line for work. He didn't press. But the look in his eyes told me he didn't believe me. And now, I know I'm not the only one lying. Every man who builds a secret life thinks he's in control, until the doors start opening without his permission. My husband, Daniel Carter, is living at least 3 lives. One with me, one with Hannah, and another with a woman named Justine Vargas, who has his 6-week-old child. He calls me crazy, overworked, emotional. But now I know what that really is. Projection, manipulation, gaslighting with a wedding band. And this morning, I woke up ready to become the woman Daniel never saw coming. The burner phone is dead now. I turned it off the moment Daniel found it in my coat pocket and asked about it with that faux casual smirk that hides his venom. I played it off like a work emergency line. He smiled, said nothing, and went back to reading his emails. But I saw it. That flicker of suspicion. He's starting to sense something's wrong. But he's also too arrogant to believe I'd ever have the strength, or the gall, to do what I'm doing. That's his first mistake. Cole and I met in the alley behind a diner that morning. We'd started rotating meeting spots in case someone was following me. We barely spoke, just exchanged files, photographs, and location intel like spies in a Cold War thriller. Today's dossier, the Vargas file. Inside were surveillance photos of Justine, her address, her work schedule, a record of the days Daniel visited, receipts from a high-end baby boutique, a bank transfer for a maternity wellness package he bought under an alias. But the one thing that made my blood turn to ice? A family photo, taken in a suburban park on a Sunday morning. Justine holding the baby, Daniel pushing a stroller, smiling, like a husband, like a father, like a man who never loved anyone but them. We need to go inside, I told Cole. He looked up. You sure? She needs to know who he really is, what he's really done. Justine deserves to choose what happens next. Cole paused, then nodded once. We drove in silence to the quiet suburban street lined with trees and plastic flamingos. Everything about it screamed, starter family, new love, fresh lies. I wore a beige trench coat, sunglasses, and zero makeup. I wanted her to see me raw. Wanted her to know I wasn't there to gloat or scream. I was there to end the story before it got worse. She answered the door with a baby on her hip. Justine Vargas. Late 20s. Striking, but tired. Her eyes scanned me with polite confusion. Can I help you? I'm Evelyn, I said. She blinked. Okay. Daniel's wife. The blood drained from her face. And just like that, the baby started crying. 10 minutes later, we were seated in her cozy living room. The baby was in a rocker, soothed by white noise. I told her everything. I showed her the photos, the receipts, the birth announcement from Hannah's baby. I left out the other woman's name for now. I didn't want to overwhelm her. But her hands were shaking. He told me you were dead, she whispered. I blinked. Excuse me. He said he was a widower. That you died in a car crash 5 years ago. Her voice broke. I lit a candle for you. I stared at her, stunned. He killed me to get to you. She nodded slowly. I feel sick. I wanted to hate her. But I couldn't. She looked exactly how I felt 3 weeks ago when the box arrived on my doorstep. Shattered. Betrayed. grieving a person who never really existed. I don't know what to do, she said. My baby. You protect her, I said. You never let him near her again. Justine nodded, silent tears spilling down her cheeks. Cole stepped forward, his voice low and steady. We can help you get a restraining order. Set up a legal case. Anonymous tips to CPS, if needed. But this isn't just about you anymore. He's dangerous. And he's losing control. Justine looked at us both, then slowly reached down and pulled something from her diaper bag. A black phone. Not hers. Burner style. Older. Scuffed. He left this here last week, she said. I think he meant to take it with him, but the baby started crying and he got distracted. It's been buzzing, but I didn't want to look. Cole's eyes narrowed. Can I? She nodded. He powered it on. Scrolled. Then froze. Evelyn, he said quietly. You need to see this. On the phone were text messages. Hundreds of them. Not just to Hannah. Or Justine. But to 4 other women. One of them had sent a photo of a positive pregnancy test. Another sent a photo of Daniel asleep in her bed. He'd been juggling at least 7 women in the last 2 years. He had a calendar app where he'd color-coded their cycles, birthdays, and anniversaries. He wasn't just cheating. He was building a system. Justine sobbed softly on the couch. I held her hand, my own heart numb. My mind raced, not with grief, but with strategy. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. This was predation. Exploitation. And I wasn't going to let him get away with it. That night, I got into Daniel's laptop while he showered. I found the documents. The files labeled with initials I now recognized. Photos. Videos. Messages. Contracts. Even an NDA for one of the women. And then, one final file. ET Red List. I clicked it. It was a full psychological profile of me. Tracked moods. Quotes. Therapy dates. Credit card purchases. The last line. She's getting suspicious. Time to move to phase 2. Love doesn't leave paper trails. Control does. I used to believe that knowledge was power. But that was before I saw a file on my husband's laptop titled E.T. Red List. E.T. Evelyn Turner. Me. I wasn't his wife. I was his subject. His project. The file read like something out of a psychological warfare manual. Notes about my habits, my spending patterns, my emotional triggers. Even the dates of my last 3 therapy sessions. None of which I ever told him about. He knew. He watched. She's getting suspicious. Time to move to phase 2. My hands shook on the keyboard. My heart beat so loud I could barely hear myself think. What the hell was phase 2? I closed the laptop seconds before Daniel stepped out of the shower, steam following him like a ghost. His towel was slung low on his hips, and he was smiling. That familiar boyish smile that used to make my knees weak. Now, it made my stomach turn. "Whatcha doing, babe?" he asked, toweling his hair. I smiled sweetly. Just browsing Pinterest. A client wants a Tuscan-themed patio. I'm thinking terracotta and wrought iron. He nodded, unbothered. You work too hard. You spy too much. He came closer, pressed a kiss to the top of my head. Wanna sleep in tomorrow? I've got an early consult, but I'll bring back brunch. I smiled again. You're too good to me. He laughed, pulling on a shirt. I know. The moment he left the next morning, I called Cole. You need to come now. 20 minutes later, we were back in my living room, the laptop between us. I reopened the file. Cole read silently, his jaw tightening with every scroll. This isn't normal, he muttered. This is calculated. Sociopathic. I know. He clicked a subfolder labeled Timeline. Inside were dozens of entries. Dates, names, notes. June 3rd, Delivery package to Evelyn. Watch for escalation. June 10th. Hannah unstable. May need to cut ties. June 15th. Justine mentioned Evelyn in conversation. Compromised. June 16th. Monitor Evelyn. If she investigates, initiate phase 2. We were already in it. I had triggered phase 2, and I had no idea what that meant. Cole pulled out his phone and started snapping photos of the files. This man isn't just cheating, he said. He's grooming women into dependency, emotional manipulation, financial control, compartmentalization. He doesn't just lie, he creates alternate realities. He looked at me. He's trying to break you. I nodded. But what's phase 2? Cole's mouth was a hard line. Could be anything. Smear campaign. Gaslighting. Legal action. Financial ruin. Isolation. I've seen men like him use every weapon they have once they feel cornered. He's tracking my therapy sessions. My credit card purchases. He knows what I eat, when I sleep. Evelyn, he said gently, this isn't a marriage. This is surveillance. That evening, I received a message from my therapist. A brief note. Apologetic. Evelyn, I'm sorry, but I've been asked to transfer your file. Your husband reached out and claimed you're undergoing a psychiatric breakdown. He's requested an emergency psychiatric hold if you show signs of instability. My hands went numb. Cole grabbed the phone from me. He's weaponizing your mental health. Trying to frame you as unstable so when this all hits the fan, you'll look like the hysterical wife. The one no one believes. I stared at the message. This was phase 2. We met Hannah the next day in a motel an hour outside the city. She was pale, her hands shaking as she sipped lukewarm coffee from a paper cup. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I think someone followed me last night, she whispered. Cole tensed. How do you know? A man in a black SUV. No plates. I saw him parked outside the clinic where I work. He didn't move for 2 hours. Then he followed me onto the freeway. When I pulled off, he disappeared. Cole exchanged a look with me. Daniel's escalating, I said. She nodded. He came to my apartment, Evelyn, last night. He banged on the door, demanding to see the baby. I didn't let him in. He kept saying, you owe me this. After everything I've done for you. Cole clenched his fists. That's coercion. We'll file a restraining order tomorrow. But Hannah wasn't done. He said something else, she whispered. We both leaned in. He said, don't think Evelyn's going to save you. She's not even safe herself. She thinks she's playing me, but I've already planned the endgame. A long, heavy silence filled the room. What's the endgame? I asked. No one had an answer. That night, I slept with the lights on. My phone on silent. A bat under the bed. Daniel hadn't come home. He claimed to be in San Diego for a surgical conference. But Cole's tracker showed him parked for 6 hours outside a lawyer's office, and then near Hannah's clinic again. We were being hunted, watched, set up. And I still didn't know who sent the original package. Someone wanted me to know the truth. Someone wanted to burn Daniel to the ground. But not out of kindness. This wasn't a warning. It was an invitation. At 3:12 a.m., my doorbell rang. I grabbed the bat, heart pounding, and tiptoed to the camera monitor. A woman stood on my porch. Thin. Wet from the rain. Holding a baby. And in her other hand, a gun. Some kisses feel like drowning. Others like fire. This one felt like revenge. For 10 years, I played the role of a devoted wife. The woman who smiled through dinner parties, who folded her husband's shirts with lavender-scented care, who believed in loyalty even when the air reeked of lies. But last night, a woman showed up at my door in the rain, holding a baby and a gun. That's not something you recover from with herbal tea and affirmations. Her name was Marissa. She looked no older than 22, shivering on my front porch, her cheeks hollow, her eyes wild and red-rimmed. The gun was pointed low, shaky, like she didn't even know how to hold it right. But that didn't stop my blood from icing over. "Don't scream," she said. "I won't. Don't call the cops." "I haven't." The baby in her arms let out a weak whimper, and my heart cracked in two despite the fear twisting in my gut. "Is that his child?" I asked gently. Marissa's mouth quivered. "She's sick. He told me he'd pay for everything, and then he blocked me." Daniel. Always making babies, never owning them. I opened the door. Not because I trusted her, but because I recognized the look in her eyes. Desperation. The kind of desperation Daniel Carter feeds on. I let her in. Cole arrived 15 minutes later, and by then I'd managed to get the gun out of Marissa's hand and into a drawer. The baby, Alina, was burning with fever. I was already wetting cloths and preparing Tylenol from the emergency kit I kept, praying the child wouldn't seize. Cole stepped inside like a silent storm, eyes immediately sweeping the room, hand casually brushing the drawer where I'd hidden the weapon. When he saw Marissa's condition, the rage in his eyes was volcanic. "You're safe," he said to her softly. "You hear me? He's not going to touch you again." She nodded slowly, tears streaming down her face. And then she said it. "I sent the package." Silence. Even the baby seemed to still for a moment. Cole leaned forward. "You sent the birth announcement? The photos? The note?" Marissa sniffled. "I knew about all of you. He never told me your names, but I figured it out. He used to say things after sex, little things. He was always talking about control, power, how he could handle more than one queen on his board. I thought he loved me, until I found his list." I froze. "What list?" She looked at me, eyes rimmed with fresh tears. "The red list. With initials. He showed it to someone once while he thought I was asleep. Said it was his master plan. A map of every woman he'd ever touched. And what he'd taken from them." I turned cold. "He kept a printed copy in his briefcase," Marissa said. "I took photos. But then I panicked and left. That was 2 months ago." "Why send the package to me?" I asked. "Because you were first," she whispered. "And I knew if you found out, the rest of us would have a chance." By morning, the baby's fever had dropped. Cole arranged for Marissa and Alina to stay at a private shelter run by someone he trusted. Safe. Anonymous. Untraceable. We gave her cash, fake names, and hope. When she hugged me before she left, it wasn't desperate. It was grateful. "You're the only one he's afraid of," she said. "He thinks you're soft. But he's wrong." I didn't feel strong. I felt hollow. Exhausted. Unraveling by the minute. After she left, I collapsed onto the couch. Cole sat beside me, both of us wet from the storm and too tired to speak. It was the quiet that undid me. Because in that silence, I realized how lonely I truly was. How much of my identity had been built around a man who didn't even see me as human. I turned to Cole. He was watching me. Not like Daniel used to, assessing, plotting, cataloging, but really watching, seeing. His hand reached out, brushed a wet strand of hair from my face. His touch lingered just long enough to make my breath hitch. "I don't know who I am anymore," I whispered. "You're a woman who survived a war she didn't start," he said. "I don't feel like I survived. I feel like I'm still bleeding." His eyes dropped to my lips. And then, without warning, he kissed me. It wasn't soft. It wasn't romantic. It was rage and heat and grief, colliding all at once. It was the kiss of someone who'd seen your soul scorched and decided to walk into the fire anyway. I kissed him back. Because in that moment, I didn't want comfort. I didn't want answers. I wanted something that was mine. Something real. Something honest. And Cole was honest. Brutally, painfully so. His hands gripped my waist like he needed me just as much as I needed him. The kiss deepened. My hands curled in his shirt. Our breathing tangled. The world narrowed to the thunder outside and the storm between us. But then, the front door creaked open. Daniel stood in the doorway. Rain dripping from his coat. Umbrella in one hand. Disbelief twisting his face into something ugly. He looked at me. Then Cole. Then back to me. "Wow," he said. His voice was too calm. Too flat. Guess I didn't need to start phase 3 after all. Daniel drops a manila envelope on the floor, the contents spilling out. Photos of me and Cole, dates, receipts, even a doctored transcript from my therapy sessions. "I warned you, Evie," he says. "Now I make you disappear." He didn't want to win. He wanted me destroyed. And he thought I'd hand him the match to burn it all. I'm no longer asking questions. I've seen enough. The women. The lies. The babies. The red list. And now, the man who once kissed me with sleepy Sunday devotion is standing in my foyer, threatening to erase me. Daniel Carter. My husband. My enemy. He dropped the envelope on the floor like it was a grenade, and I could feel Cole beside me coil tight like a wire about to snap. Inside that envelope were photos. Me and Cole in his car, me and Cole at the motel with Hannah, me and Cole kissing on this very couch not 15 minutes ago. All time-stamped. All perfectly curated. And somehow, all from inside my home. Daniel was in my walls long before I ever looked behind them. "You've been watching me," I said, my voice dead calm. Daniel smiled that old, snakeskin smile. "That's marriage, baby. Knowing what your spouse will do before they do it." Cole stepped between us, protective. "You planted cameras." Daniel didn't flinch. "In a house I paid for? Legally, I can monitor anything under my name. That includes her." "I'm not a thing," I snapped. His eyes flicked to mine, amused. "You were, once. A very expensive, beautifully designed thing." I wanted to hit him. Instead, I stared at the envelope on the floor. "Why now?" "Because you crossed the line," he said simply. "I was willing to let you walk away clean. Let you live in ignorant peace. But you had to dig. You had to drag others into this." He turned his eyes to Cole. "Especially him." "I should have known you'd get off on the idea of her with someone else," Cole sneered. "You're not mad about the betrayal. You're mad she didn't choose you." Daniel's smirk turned cold. "I always get chosen in the end. Watch." He pulled out a flash drive and tossed it on the coffee table. "Everything you need to ruin me is on there," he said. "Financials. Photos. Names. But use it, and I use this." He held up a second flash drive, identical in shape. "Yours has truth. Mine has context. Your affair. Your therapist's notes. A few generous donations I made to her clinic before she suddenly labeled you unwell. And a very believable timeline that makes you look like a woman having a psychotic breakdown after years of infertility." My throat closed. "Your friends will distance themselves. Your business will die. The media will eat you alive." Cole's voice was quiet but lethal. "You forged records." Daniel shrugged. "I edited narratives. Same thing the tabloids do." That's when he said it. "You have 48 hours, Evelyn. End your little rebellion, send Cole packing, and give me the files you've collected. Or I send everything I have to your investors, your mother, and the licensing board for your firm." "And if I don't?" I asked. He smiled. "Then I'll take the baby." Silence. "Whose?" I whispered. "Hannah's," he said casually. "I've been preparing the custody case for weeks. She has no savings, no stability, no lawyer. And that shelter Cole tucked Marissa into? I already know where it is." Cole lunged. I grabbed his arm. No, I said. He wants that. Daniel backed toward the door, confidence radiating from every smug step. Tick-tock, Evie, he said. The clock's running. Better choose carefully. And then he was gone. The silence that followed was suffocating. Cole paced like a predator, hands clenched. We should leak the file. Destroy him now. No, I said quietly. He stopped. Why the hell not? Because he wants a fight. He's prepared for it. We leak it now, he spins it. Turns me into the unstable wife, you into the predatory PI, and the women into liars with motives. He walks away with sympathy and custody. So what do we do? I picked up the flash drives, weighing them in each hand. We turn the narrative against him, I said. We make him burn his own house down. That night, I called Hannah, told her everything. Then I called Justine, then Marissa. One by one, I brought them in. One by one, we built a case that wasn't about revenge. It was about pattern, history, control, grooming. The next day, Hannah showed up at Daniel's private clinic, with a microphone in her bra and a baby in her arms. I'm scared, she said. I don't know what Evelyn's telling people, but I think she's trying to take my baby. I need your help. Daniel ate the bait like candy. Of course, he said, pulling her into his office. I'll fix everything. He didn't know Cole was watching from the parking lot. Didn't know Hannah was recording every word. Didn't know we'd already spoken to a lawyer, one who specialized in coercive control and psychological abuse. That night, Daniel's face appeared on my TV. Not in person, but on the news. Renowned surgeon under investigation for allegations of coercion, fraud, and psychological abuse from multiple women. They didn't show my face, or Hannah's, or Justine's. But the truth was out. The phone rang 10 minutes later. It was Daniel. He wasn't calm anymore. He was screaming. The truth set me free, but not before it nearly destroyed me. I used to believe love was the safest place you could fall. But now I know better. Love, real love, isn't what leaves bruises on your heart and fingerprints on your fear. Daniel Carter called himself my husband, but he was never my home. He was a carefully disguised storm. And now the world knows it. His voice on the phone was nothing like the man who once read bedtime poetry to me in bed. You think this ends with a few news clips and sad sob stories? He snarled through the receiver. You think I didn't prepare for this? I said nothing. I'm not just going to take your business, Evelyn. I'm going to take you. Everything you are. Your credibility. Your name. You don't know the world I operate in. You're right, I said softly. I didn't. Then I hung up. Cole watched from the far end of my living room, arms folded, expression grim. The news was spreading. Fast. 5 outlets had picked up the story already. 2 podcasts. 1 national site. And just as we feared, Daniel had struck back. He released a statement, polished, tear-stained, and manipulative. A soft-spoken clip from his office, with downcast eyes and the headline, "A devastated father and husband speaks out. I was only trying to help troubled women." He called me his grieving wife, claimed I'd recently suffered a devastating miscarriage that had unhinged my sense of reality. There was no miscarriage. But now the press wanted to know when it happened, why it wasn't disclosed, whether I was mentally stable. That night, the board of one of my design partners sent an email. Until this matter is resolved, we're suspending our contract indefinitely. I stared at the message in stunned silence. Cole watched me from across the room, guilt flickering in his eyes. He's hitting you where it hurts, he said. He's drawing blood before you can. I nodded. And it's working. He came to sit beside me, brushing his thumb over my knuckles. You can walk away from this, he said quietly. We can leave this city. Start over. No press. No revenge. Just peace. I looked up at him. And for the first time since this began, I considered it. Letting go. Choosing peace over war. Choosing love over justice. But then my phone buzzed. A message from a blocked number. Just 2 words. Found her. Attached was a photo of Marissa and her baby. In the grocery store. Smiling. Blissfully unaware. And in the background, Daniel's car. I stood up slowly. Hands shaking. Vision blurring. He's still watching them, I said. Cole grabbed the keys. Then it's time. Time for what? He met my eyes. For you to make the choice. That night, I drove to Daniel's office. Alone. I knew he'd be there. He never could resist a grand finale. I stepped inside without knocking. He was seated at his desk, perfectly groomed, sipping from a crystal tumbler like he hadn't just spent the week setting fire to everything I ever built. "Evie," he said, standing. "You look tired." "I am," I replied. "Of your voice. Your lies. Your illusions." He walked around the desk slowly, circling me like a vulture. "You came alone?" "Yes." "No Cole to hide behind?" "No." I held up the flash drive. "This ends now." He laughed softly. "You really think that thing scares me?" "No," I said. "But this might." I pulled out the second flash drive. The one he gave me. The one that held the fake therapy notes, the twisted timelines, the lies he planned to use against me. I decrypted it, I said. And I found something interesting. His eyes narrowed. "What?" "Your real red list." He froze. "The one with names, dates, videos. The one you tried to delete when you saw Hannah at your office. You must have thought the overwrite worked. It didn't." He took a step toward me. I stepped back. "You can't win this, Evelyn." "That's the thing," I whispered. "I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to burn." Outside, Cole was waiting in a car with a secured laptop. As soon as Daniel lunged, I said the trigger word. Now. The drive uploaded its contents to every major press outlet, Attorney General's office, and human rights blog in the country. In minutes, Daniel's entire web of lies, videos, documents, the red list itself, flooded the internet. His face turned ghost white as his phone buzzed and buzzed and buzzed. He checked it once. Then again. And then, he screamed. A primal, broken sound that shook the glass walls of his empire. "I gave you everything," he bellowed. "You were nothing without me." "No," I said, turning away. "I was nothing because of you." The next morning, I received a legal notice. Daniel Carter is suing me for defamation, breach of marital privacy, and emotional distress. But what he didn't know was that someone else had been recording everything. Someone who wanted him taken down even more than I did. And they just sent me a file labeled Phase 4. He thought he could bury the truth. He didn't know I'd learned to rise from the grave. Not the fairy tale I once believed in. Not the love story I vowed myself into. This is a reckoning, blood for blood, lie for lie. Daniel Carter tried to erase me. He called me his wife with one hand and ruined me with the other. But today, I bury the man he pretended to be. The file labeled Phase 4 arrived anonymously in my inbox. No message. No sender. But the contents. They were a kill shot. A full audio confession. Daniel, drunk in a bar with a man whose voice I didn't recognize. Bragging. Laughing. Detailing how he manipulated all 7 of them, like a sociopath playing chess. How he forged my therapy records. How he planned to institutionalize me if I didn't fall in line. How he once pushed a girl too far and had to make it disappear. He spoke about Marissa like she was a mistake. About Hannah like she was property. About me like I was a broken doll who needed rewiring. The recording was dated 2 weeks before he dropped the blackmail at my feet. And the voice that recorded him? Cole recognized it immediately. His brother. A federal agent. I didn't tell you, Cole said, jaw clenched, because I didn't want to drag him into this. But after he saw your name on the file, he started watching Daniel himself. And he caught this? Cole nodded. He's been gathering evidence on coercive abuse rings in medical circles. Daniel wasn't even the main target, but when your name came up, he trailed off. The unspoken truth between us? This wasn't just about love or lies. This was about justice. And now, we had enough to bury Daniel in 4 different courts. The trial exploded like wildfire. 5 women testified. Hannah, Justine, Marissa, one woman from 5 years ago who hadn't spoken in public until now, and me. I read the red list out loud. I played the bar confession to a stunned courtroom. I submitted the hidden camera footage, the forged therapy notes, the surveillance data he used against me. Daniel's team tried to claim I was mentally unstable, that I'd orchestrated a smear campaign. But it was his own words that sentenced him. His own arrogance. And when the verdict was read, guilty, on multiple counts of fraud, emotional abuse, coercive control, digital invasion of privacy, and falsifying medical documents, I didn't cry. I simply turned, walked out of that courtroom in silence, and never looked back. 1 month later, I reopened my business under a new name, Phase 4 Interiors. A nod to the file that saved me. My first clients, Hannah and Marissa. We designed rooms that felt like peace, walls that held them instead of trapped them. Justine moved in next door. Her daughter plays in my yard every Saturday. Sometimes we laugh until we cry. Sometimes we just cry. But none of us feel crazy anymore. None of us feel alone. And Cole. He stayed. Not as my savior. Not as the man who kissed me in the dark. But as the one who stood beside me while I walked through fire and came out burning brighter. We never said, I love you. Not yet. But one night, as we lay under the stars on the roof of my new studio, I looked over and whispered, would you still want me, even if I never want to get married again? He looked at me like I hung the stars myself. I want you. Not your paperwork. They called me a victim. Then a liar. Then a survivor. Now, I'm the architect of my own life. And I build with fire. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and comment your thoughts below. Would you choose love or loyalty? And don't forget to subscribe for more true secrets every day.